to the moon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, you're looking at the scene from a few weeks ago. The Industry Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, at the Johnson Space Center in Houston as NASA announced the crew for Artemis II. It will be the first crewed mission to the moon in decades, and on board will be Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Well, it is a mission that is being celebrated tonight in Ottawa, and to talk a bit more about that, we're now joined by Brian Gallant, former Premier of New Brunswick, who is now the CEO of the industry group Space Canada. Mr. Gallant, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, as we talk about the celebrations this evening, you are joined in Ottawa today by the crew of Artemis II, the Prime Minister, the Industry Minister, experts, students. What does Canada's participation in the Artemis program mean for the future of the space industry in this country?
It's an extremely exciting day. It's an extremely exciting time for the Canadian space sector. I would also argue for Canada as a whole, and even for all of humanity. I mean, with Artemis II, humanity is venturing out into space yet again. The Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen will be a part of the 4-person crew of Artemis II, which is a big deal. It's a big deal to the point that the Prime Minister wants to be involved and meet the astronauts. And I wonder if it's because, in part, he recognizes the monumental historic nature of this mission. I wonder if it's because, obviously, he recognizes, I hope, the importance of space to our everyday lives as Canadians and for people around the globe. But I also like to think he just is interested by space. I mean, he is inspired by it. And to see 4 astronauts come together to be able to accomplish what they're going to accomplish is pretty amazing. So for the Canadian space ecosystem and industry, we really hope that the Artemis II mission helps to instill a sense of pride for Canadians. We hope it raises awareness of the importance of space to our everyday lives, how it can help our economy, how it can help us tackle societal and planetary challenges that worry us. And you know what? I hope it inspires a new generation of Canadians to reach for the stars.
Yeah, let's build...
Figuratively, but almost literally in this case.
Yeah, well, listen, let's build on a few of those points, though, because if you don't mind, back in 2019, the space industry employed over 10,000 Canadians. It generated nearly $5.5 billion in revenues. It was mostly in satellite and broadcasting services, though. Where else might the space industry go with this type of program, now a part of its history and future?
Yeah, you're right. Billions of dollars per year that it contributes to Canada's economy, thousands of jobs that it produces. And what's really important to note is that it's poised to grow. There are reports that says it'll get to hundreds of billions of dollars in the next few decades, even some that will say that it will come to $1 trillion a year by 2040. So this is an immense sector with lots of growth opportunities. And there's lots of areas in which Canada can benefit from this: Earth observation, remote sensing. And also people should all kind of try to wrap their heads around the idea that yeah, there's the direct benefits of investing in space, but what space also helps us do is be all that much more competitive. If we want to have smart cities, autonomous cars, robotic manufacturing, AI, the metaverse, these things are going to be enabled by space infrastructure. And the competitiveness of many emerging and traditional industries in Canada will, in fact, depend on space development and innovation.
Mm-hmm. In fact, as you list all those things, obviously the industries of the future, if Canada wants to remain competitive. So as you talk about all of that, Mr. Gallant, where does government investment fit into this, or are things shifting? Because we are certainly seeing more private players entering the space race. I'm thinking about Blue Origin and SpaceX. What's the picture like here in Canada, government versus private investment?
Yeah, it's the question, really. And why it's the question is decades ago, any country that was doing something into space, when we kind of first started, it really was led by governments. It was government programming. And government plays an immense role for the space industry today. There's no question about that. But it has changed. And to your point, there's a commercialization of space now in the sense that space is more accessible. What we can harness in terms of the benefits of space for humanity and for Canadians, for economic growth, has changed and morphed over the years. So because of that, the dynamic has changed with it. So governments have a very important role, and they should invest more into space given the economic opportunities that I listed off, but also because space can help us tackle climate change. The World Meteorological Organization says that the variables that we need to monitor to fight and mitigate climate change, well, 50% of them are going to be monitored through space. It can help with the digital divide, helping give economic opportunity to communities and families here in Canada and remote, rural, Indigenous, and northern communities. So there's a lot of reasons why we should be investing as a country. But then also government can play a role in helping industry, helping the ecosystem be able to invest and create opportunities for Canadians while tackling these societal challenges. So it's a very interesting time. We hope today's mission will shed light on the interesting dynamics that have been created, but also, again, just be a celebration of this wonderful feat that these 4 individuals will do on behalf of humanity. And it's great to have a Canadian be a part of it.
Well, Brian Gallant, I wish I was at the reception this evening, but I'm here working. Still, thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Well, thank you. And it is going to be an out-of-this-world event. I just had to say it.
Okay, send pictures. Brian Gallant, the CEO of Space Canada.